All right, everybody, welcome. This is video number 3 in our Breeders' Cup series. We're going to talk about the Breeders' Cup turf. And of course, I'm your host, Scott Steen. I'm lead handicapper at winnersandwhiners.com. And I'm joined by a guy from the Racing Dudes, which, if you haven't checked out the Racing Dudes, if you like horse racing, even if you're a modest fan who likes to put a couple of bucks on it, definitely check out the Racing Dudes site. And here is one of the actual Racing Dudes himself. It's Aaron Halterman. We're going to talk a little Breeders' Cup. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much, man. Yeah, we've got 4 videos coming at you. This one we're going to talk about here is going to be awesome. Breeders' Cup Turf, one of the best fields of the day. This is going to be worth the price of admission if you're going to the Breeders' Cup. This is a big time field.
All right, very good. And there's no massive favorite in this one as we've had in the other 2 races. This one looks to be a little more wide open. So, Aaron, tell us first of all just a couple of differences between the turf and the dirt. Obviously, one's grass and one's brown stuff. I'm not the biggest horse racing fan in the world, but I do know that one. What's the length in this?
Yeah, that's a very good start right there. One is on the
Right.
grass and one is on the dirt. Yeah, listen, a mile and a half.
It is on actual grass, right? It's not.
Right.
Now, isn't there like another surface they've been running on, or is that no, that's a dirt substitute, right?
Yeah, there's dirt, and then there's a like a synthetic surface, which
Right.
is kind of the blend between the two, and then there's actual grass, which is what we're on here.
And they haven't subbed out the grass for no field turf or nothing like that. It's
Right. Yep. Still the real grass. Yeah. Yeah. No AstroTurf like in football or anything like that.
I'm
No.
guessing some of those football players that play in domes watch that race go, must be nice.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Rip your knee out on a seam or okay. So sorry I interrupted. So what's the distance and what are we looking for difference wise between grass and
Yeah, so we're gonna go a mile and a half in this one. So usually a dirt race, the longest you'll ever see is a mile and a quarter. Most of the time, it's more of a mile and 16th. This one we're going a mile and a half, so a long.
Belmont's a mile and a half.
Yeah, Belmont is a mile and a half, so that's true. There is one exception there. So same distance as the Belmont, but except we're running it on the turf. So as you could probably kind of guess, they don't go quite as fast early in the race. They kind of get all in a bunch through 3/4 of the race, and then it's kind of a sprint for home from there. So that's kind of the first thing to look at. We usually get bigger fields running in turf races, and that's going to be the case here. 13 runners lined up for this year's Breeders' Cup Turf. Here's a big difference, and maybe the biggest. In the United States, our dirt horses are superior to any other country. On the turf, our turf horses are not. The European runners come over here for the Breeders' Cup and usually do quite well. In Europe, they're known for turf racing. We're here, we're known for our dirt racing. So that kind of makes an interesting dynamic at the Breeders' Cup where you have our best turf horses going up against Europe's.
It kind of like us playing soccer versus American football.
Yep.
Where everybody else is better than us at soccer, or most people are. So, and I know this is going to sound like a totally noob type question, but I know in Europe they run the other way, right?
Yep.
Does that happen? Does that freak them out when they get to America? Is it like you and me trying to drive in England on the wrong side of the road? Does it take any additional training, or is that just a natural thing they do?
You know, some of them, it does freak them out. Absolutely, 100% it does. It's not just the running kind of backwards, as we like to call it, but
Right.
it's also their courses are very different from ours as far as sometimes they go uphill, sometimes they go downhill. It's almost like running through, I mean, it's not really a hill, but it feels like it. You know, they're running on weird courses, weird configurations. We're here, obviously, it's flat, it's an oval, everything's the same. So there are some horses that come in from overseas and they just don't handle it very well, and they don't handle the conditions very well. That's why watching replays for horses that are coming in from Europe can really make a big difference. One thing you really don't want is a horse that's oversized, really a big horse, because they're not going to be able to handle the 2 turns of our racing and kind of the quick turns. That's another difference. In Europe, their turns are long, stretching, kind of, really feels like you're kind of out in the field watching them run type of races. So there are some main differences, and yes, that they definitely can get tripped up with our conditions.
Yes, I can tell you as a bigger person that the quick turns are not what they've used to be for me. So I can certainly relate to that. And is that mainly because all of our turf courses are basically inside of the dirt courses?
Yep.
So the straightaways are going to be shorter. There's going to be more turns. Where in Europe, that's their main course, so they're able to lengthen them out, and they look more like our dirt tracks, maybe.
Yep, you hit the nail right on the head. Like I said, over there, the turf racing is the main thing. So that's the track. They don't have dirt tracks on many of their tracks, so they can kind of cut that turf course however they really want to do it. However they want to set it up. We're here. The main thing is the dirt. That's going to be our main track, and then inside of it is the turf course. You're making a course inside of another one. You don't have a lot of options. They're going to have to be just an oval, right? So
right.
that's absolutely right. Yep.
Okay, very good. All right. So now that I've spent 5 minutes asking questions that basically I wanted to know, let's talk about something that our audience might want to know, like how this race is going to shake out. How do you see it starting, and how do you see things coming up to the far turn there?
This is going to be really interesting because there's not a lot of early speed in this race. Most of your horses that you're going to want to keep an eye on are going to come from the back of the pack. In a turf race, that's not that big of a deal. In a dirt race, that could be a problem. But on the turf, most of the time, you're going to see a horse kind of coming from mid-pack or further back, making a big run and kind of taking over in the stretch. So as far as early speed, they're going to go pretty slow in this race. Usually a half-mile time on the turf, you'll see 48, 49 seconds. I would not be surprised to see 50, 51 seconds in this one. I really expect all 13 of these horses to kind of group together and not, I would say 6, 7 lengths, probably going to separate them. The one horse that might try to go out a little bit quicker than that is a horse that drew the rail, number 1, Bye Bye Melvin. He might just send him hard out of the gate and try to get that early lead. The only problem is he probably isn't good enough to stay, so he probably is going to kind of fade back. But the real presence of this race, the real horses that have the big shot, they're probably going to be right within 4 or 5 lengths of each other.
All right, very good. And you see, being on the rail, is that just kind of born out of necessity? Is he a fast starter generally, or you think he's just the type of horse that being on the rail, he'll take that shot?
It's kind of a coupled thing. He definitely is a fast horse early. And then when you draw the rail and you're kind of going to be a longer shot anyway, the best way to kind of quote unquote steal a race is to get out in front of everybody and just hope they kind of stay. So I think it is going to be a coupled situation there where he does have some natural ability. Then you draw the rail and it's like, well, there's one option, go to the front. And I certainly expect him to do so.
All right, very good. So a couple of the betting favorites right now are Rebels Romance, Nation's Pride, and what is that, Mishriff?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how do you see those? Who's your favorite among the? And those are all the ones with just single digit odds right now. Everybody else is 10-1 or better. The way, or no, I'm sorry, I missed Warlike Goddess at 4.5 to 1, 9-2.
Yeah. Right. It's definitely a situation where those horses deserve to be the favorites. So the 5 Rebels Romance and the 7 Nation's Pride, they both come over for trainer Charlie Appleby, who's an overseas trainer. With the 5 Rebels Romance, hasn't lost all year, went 4 for 4 in Europe and has been fantastic. With the 7 Nation's Pride, that horse has actually been running in the United States, even though he normally is based in Europe, and has been running very well in the United States. So here's the key. We talked about it. The United States courses are a little bit different. The 7 Nations Pride has come over here a couple times, and he's used to running in the United States. I think that's going to be a big advantage for him. They definitely are the 2 deserving favorites in this spot. Charlie Appleby had major success at the Breeders' Cup last year. I think they're going to be very tough to beat once again this year.
And those are Irish horses, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, both coming over from overseas. Like I said, Nation's Pride kind of started the year over there and then came over and kind of had a couple of test runs, if you will, in the United States, where Rebels Romance will be making his first start in the United States.
All right. So it's wide open. They've come down the backstretch. They've taken the turn. They're heading for home. How do you see it?
I think the number 5 Rebels Romance is going to take over, and I think he's going to be the one they're all going to have to run down. He looks like a stud. I think if he takes to the conditions, he's going to be tough. However, Aiden O'Brien also sends over 2 horses, the number 3 Stone Age and the number 4 Broom. Both of these horses are 15 to 1 on the morning line. And I think it's very important to note that the number 4 Broom picks up American jockey Irad Ortiz Jr. I feel like they wanted a jockey that knew this turf course, in and out, instead of getting a European jockey aboard. I feel like that's a good sign for the number 4 Broom. I think he could overtake Rebels Romance in the stretch. I think it's going to be down between those 2. I think the 4 and the 5 are going to be battling it out to the wire. And like I said, 15 to 1 on Broom is pretty tough to pass up when you've got a guy like Irad Ortiz Jr. jumping aboard.
So jockeys don't necessarily specialize on one surface or another. You don't have a turf guy or a dirt guy, so to speak. They are flexible.
In the United States, most of ours are, of course, overseas, pretty much turf is what you're going to expect. But yeah, in our country, if you're going to specialize on the turf, you're really hampering yourself, right? Because we run so many dirt races. So yeah, our jockeys can usually go on dirt and turf, and there's really no problem, especially in this case with a guy like Irad Ortiz Jr., who can win on any surface. I would argue his turf racing might even be a little bit better than his dirt racing. So again, the number 4 Broom, it really elevates him having a guy like Irad aboard.
Well, I'm excited about that Broom horse because he's listed on the morning odds at 15-1. So that definitely has my attention, which kind of takes us into the next question. And this is the one that I'm going to ask on every video. It's like it was written for me. They know my money management. I've only got $20 left. I don't know what race is this of the car that day?
This is the second to last race, so we got to make some money on this one.
Oh, there's a real strong possibility. I've just got $20 left at the second to the last point. No question about that. All right, I've got my $20 bill. Now I'm eyeing some nachos and a beer, but you're going to talk me out of it, and you're going to tell me where to put that $20 so I can turn it into, I don't know, untold millions.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe,
well, listen,
50, whatever.
I think we can turn $20 into 300 or 400 right here.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
I think this is the major opportunity to do it. I think you do a $10 exacta box with those 2 horses I just talked about, the number 4 Broom and the number 5 Rebels Romance. $10 exacta box. That means they can come in any order. It'll cost you $20. So there's your $20 bill. If this thing comes in Broom over Rebels Romance, I think we're getting, like I said, $300, $400, $500. Even if Rebels Romance wins the race as the favorite, Broom is enough of a price that you're still going to get at least 200, I think, back on that investment. And I like the way this sets up. That's what you want in horse racing. And that's what horse racing can do. You can bet a little and you could really get a balloon price. I think we've got a shot in this one. A couple of the other videos we did, I think it's going to be kind of chalky. This one, I think you can get some prices involved.
All right, very good. And I know that's what a lot of us casual fans like to hear. We want to know how to turn our $2 into $100 or something like that. So maybe not quite that kind of an opportunity, but a darn good one. So I'm excited. And yeah, that'll give me more bullets to fire for the classic. And I'm super excited about that. So any final thoughts on that?
Well, I guess the one horse that I feel like I feel bad for not mentioning, our best horse in this race is the number 2 Warlike Goddess, and it's a filly trying to take on the boys. Now, don't get worried about that. A filly has had great success in this race in the past. That's number 1. Number 2, this filly Warlike Goddess actually beat the boys last time out. That'll be the horse we're all kind of rooting for if our bets aren't going that great in this race. So hopefully we aren't rooting for her, I guess. But she would be a great feel-good story to see the filly beat the boys here. Got to mention her. She's 9-2, and that's kind of a little too short to really want to get her involved in a lot. But if you want to root for a horse, I think the number 2 Warlike Goddess is the one to pull for.
Would you make sure you have her on any try card?
I would definitely put her in the try. She's a horse that's going to come from absolute last, from the clouds. And that's always kind of a worry with a big field. How are they going to get through? They might get stopped. She's going to make a run. Yeah, I would have her in that 3rd and 4th spot.
Well, if you've ever seen a woman determined to get somewhere, then you know they have no question that they'll eventually figure out a way to get there. So
that's right.
Very good. Hey, I want to give one plug to the Racing Dudes Breeders' Cup betting guide. Tell us a little bit about that, Aaron, how we get it.
Yeah, it's you can go over to racingdudes.com right now and get it. It's on the handicapping products page. You can click on that right on our main menu. Yeah, the racing guide is going to be about 30 to 35 pages once we get it all over with and done. We've got full write-ups for all 14 of the Breeders' Cup races. And then we've actually got a bankroll management guide where we're going to tell you exactly what we're going to play and the exact amounts we're going to play in that Breeders' Cup wagering guide as well. It's been very popular. We did it in 2020 and 2021. So we're going to do it again in 2022. Plus, you'll get the top 4 picks for all 14 Breeders' Cup races from all of the guys at racingdudes.com.
I will be reading that because I am the master of turning $200 into $17 just like that. So I will definitely be checking out the guide. You should do that too. And I also will put a link in the description of this video. So if you're if you're a millennial and you're too lazy to go to the website, one click. That's all you got to do. One click, it'll take you right there. And you should definitely do it before you make any kind of wagers this weekend on the Breeders' Cup. All right, Aaron, 3 down, 1 to go, just the classic. And we'll be doing that on the next video. Thanks very much for watching. And yeah, you guys stay tuned. The Super Bowl of the Breeders' Cup is next.